Yeah, we want to take care of our families. We want to have a good relationship with our friends. We want prosperity. But you're right. I had that belief, and it was so confirmed over the 18 different countries and multiple continents. Everyone, not everyone, there's certainly bad actors. I didn't run into any. We really just ran into good people.
Welcome to a new episode of Most Memorable Journeys. My guest today decided one fine day to just leave everything and travel. And I think many people who are listening to us would like to do this, but not many actually have the guts to do so because it must need a lot of organization, especially when it's with the whole family, with a wife and 4 boys. And we're going to find out a lot more about all this while I will be talking to Adam Stuart. Welcome to Most Memorable Journeys, Adam.
Thank you so much. It definitely was a most memorable journey. our plan and our journey has been a one that's changed us in so many different ways.
So how did this start? Did you think about it for a long time, or was it like just one fine day you thought, this is it, I need to leave? How did it start? How did the thought grow in your mind?
Oh, that's a great question. And the answer is yes, just one fine day, but it was a culmination of a lot of different things. So I had, my wife and I got married very young. I was 23 and she was 22. And we spent, 5 years in, we had our first son, and I got busy in corporate America, and I was a traveling salesperson for medicals, in hospitals. And so I was just traveling the country and loved what I did, but I poured my whole everything into being a good dad, navigating life and, buying a home and trying to climb the corporate ladder. And what had happened is in 2017, 2018, we spent, I was just traveling a lot. And at that point I did have all 4 of my kids, and I was just a busy dad. And I was so sick of just the grind of work and kind of kept thinking like, I'm not doing enough for me and for to get my heart excited about life. We had a beautiful life, and I'm so grateful for that. I had missed out on a couple of promotions that I felt I was pretty qualified for. And in kind of those lows of that time in my career, I just said, I'm going to figure out something that lights me up, something that gets me excited. Like all of us spend a little bit, probably too much time on social media. And I have a really good friend from high school that had, her husband had sold his business, and they took a little career break about 3 months, and they were in Thailand. And something, when I saw her in Thailand with her kids, they were with some elephants, it just clicked. And I started just scheming up this idea. And it took me a couple days to be brave enough to go bring it to my wife, like, hey, what if we did something crazy? And I shouldn't have had to worry because she's awesome. And her response was, I kind of said, what if we plan accordingly, we put some money aside, and I leave the company I'm with, not talking about a sabbatical where I'm going to come back. Let's just a clean break, and let's do this, and let's go take the kids and have an incredible experience. And she literally just, I think the words out of her mouth were, great. Like, when do we start? When are we doing this? There wasn't any pushback. It was just like full steam ahead. Let's go.
Great. How old were the boys?
Well, right now they're 14 to 6. And so I had a newborn in 2018, and then just 2 years. So 2, 4, 6, and 8 at that point. And so,
Oh my God.
yeah.
And what about school?
It's a great question. So we had to figure out a lot of things. And first and foremost in my mind was like, I can't sink our family financially. So we scheduled it. And I said, based on everything I think we can do over about 4 to 5 years, I think we can set enough money aside to do this. My son, my oldest, I didn't want him to be into high school. Those are kind of formative years that it stinks to pull them out of where they've grown up. And so we planned it while he was in the middle of junior high. And then, last year is when it happened. So 2023, we pulled our kids out, and we found an online program that had a curriculum that we just did while we were traveling. So spent, I don't know, 2 to 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and maybe some weekends if we were, didn't get caught up or something. But yeah, it was great. That part was way easier than I thought it was going to be.
I think that the benefit of traveling around the world is so much bigger than attending a boring school anyway. I mean, that has always been my opinion because yeah, I remember when my kids went to school and sometimes you had to fight for a couple of days because you went somewhere and you may not have been back for. And I always used to think, how petty, when you think of the advantage of seeing the world, seeing different cultures, understanding how the world works to missing 2 days at school. So I'm sure you did the right thing. Now, where did you start?
Ooh, that's a good question. Real pause. I heard a term while we were out called world schooling, and I'm like, that is so much better than school schooling, than book schooling.
Yes, that's a good word. World
Yeah,
schooling. It's
world
very good.
schooling.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. So we flew from Salt Lake City. We live kind of in the heart of the Wasatch Mountains in the United States, and flew to New York City. We spent 3 days in New York. The kids had never been there, and then we grabbed a red eye midnight flight from New York to Oslo, Norway. In kind of planning this out, we had set money aside. Obviously, we were doing that budgeting thing, but I really wanted the kids to have some involvement. And granted, they're young. So our oldest at the point was 13, kind of 13 through 6 was about our ages. And so we had each of them pull, I mean, basically just write up a place that they wanted to visit. We bought some books that they could flip through. And so this sounds way more formal than it was, but kind of did a book report on each different country that they wanted to go to. And so we all had say in what we were doing. And the reason we went to Norway is I grew up knowing my grandfather had Norwegian heritage, and I knew some of those stories. But as we were getting ready, we did some digging, and my wife had more heritage than I did, had more people coming from Norway. And so we actually went. I mean, the whole point of that was to kind of go, okay, so if we're doing this crazy trip, let's go see where we're from. And we spent time looking at family farms and cemeteries, and while we were exploring that beautiful country.
Did you find anybody? Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, did you? Yeah.
Yeah, we've got pictures of there's a cool site called Family Search and familysearch.com or maybe .org, but that website, we got in there and we kind of found our genealogy and found a group of, I mean, pictures of my ancestors, and we took pictures in front of those same churches or family homes. And so it was really grounding in a way that I wasn't prepared for. That was a really interesting experience.
I think that's the fascinating part of people from the United States of America or from North America, because everybody comes from somewhere.
That's
Unless
right.
you're a
It's a
Native
melting
American,
pot.
everybody has a backstory. What time of the year did you arrive in Norway? Which was it summer?
August, late
August.
August.
Oh, it's a nice time of the year to arrive because winter. Okay, you come from a cold place, so winter wouldn't have shocked you too much. And what about the prices? Didn't you find it very expensive?
So I'm not typically this way, but I was very much this way. Like, hey, we have a budget and we've got to stay within a budget. And Norway just shocked me. I kind of thought, well, instead of this being a year-long trip, this might be a 6-month trip or a 4-month trip because, yeah, Norway is really expensive. Everything from transit to food to gasoline, it was just, yeah, it was expensive.
Yeah.
I kind of joke that the food in Norway was okay. We didn't find anything that we absolutely loved. So I was happy to get to some other places that had better food options and the pricing seemed a little better.
So what came after Norway?
We kind of made this blitz through Europe. So we spent a total of 2.5 months. Well, actually, you can only stay as an American. You can only stay is it the Schengen zone or Schengen? I don't know how
Yes.
to say that.
Yeah, Schengen.
Um,
Yes.
so we can only stay there for 90 days. And so we spent 89 days in the Schengen zone. And so we did from Norway, we did Germany and down in Munich for a few weeks. While we were there, we drove down into Austria and Liechtenstein and Switzerland. I had no idea. I've never experienced being able to jump countries like that. We grabbed a train and spent a couple of weeks in Prague. And then the place that we kind of first settled in is we spent a month in Paris and a month in Rome. And so we had one Airbnb where we just kind of settled in, and it was just so special. That was awesome.
How amazing. I am from Switzerland. I live in Cyprus, as I told you
Oh,
before.
wow.
I live in,
Yeah.
in the Eastern Mediterranean, but I am originally from Switzerland. Did you like Switzerland? It's another expensive country by.
Yeah, but I can't remember the name right off the top of my head, but we were on top. We went to a ski resort in summer. And so we went up and did like one of those alpine slides where, you're sitting on a little rail cart. And I could not get over the beauty of those mountains. I live in beautiful mountains. We it's kind of home. It's where our heart kind of lies. But wow, Switzerland, it was incredible, and that's definitely on the list of places to go back to.
Yeah, I think that's another good thing about what you did, isn't it? I mean, in a year, or if you say Europe in 90 days, but it's a good opportunity to find out where you want to go back to and what you want to see again, or what you're done with. Once you had exhausted the Schengen area, where did you go to?
So we had planned on going to Israel over in December. We had planned on spending December in Israel, but October 6th happened, and so we decided that wasn't a good time to head there. And I have a really good friend who ran a small business, not a real small business, but ran a business from my hometown, but in Dubai. And so I called him and I said, I don't know anything about Dubai other than the movies. So is this a place that we should visit? And he just went off like safest place you'll ever be. You got to come. So we spent all of like I think November 30th through December 30th in Dubai. You've traveled a ton, but I think one of the things that for me, it's like every place you visit, you've realized there's more to see. Like it's not like a checklist and like you're checking off things. It's you realize how much more there is to see and how much more time you need. You need to a lot to getting out there.
Absolutely. And I think even if you go to the same place 20 times, there will always be something that you haven't done yet, or that something new that has come up. I don't know, like in my case, I was in Vienna recently. I don't know how many times I've been to Vienna. And it's just, there is something else. And also that when you walk around, you're not always in the same frame of mind. So you look at you notice different things. I think traveling is just something very fascinating. So
That's true.
Dubai, what did you think of Dubai? That must have been quite another expensive place, really, when you're six people.
Yeah, Dubai was interesting because when we were leaving, I had made a friend in Italy, and I told her where we were going, and she just said, she's like, I like nature. I love the mountains. I love the beaches. And she said, when you get to Dubai, you'll realize that most of it is man-made. And she's like, or all of it is man-made. And she said, there's some beauty in the fact that they built this city out of the sand, but she said for me, I just missed the nature, and I think that was really spot on. I fell in love with the story of them, the Emirates coming together and creating this amazing society that has brought a lot of wealth and opportunity to that part of the world. It very much an Instagram city. It felt like everything had hashtags and but the pictures were awesome and we sure enjoyed it. We got to go to church a few times. I mean, 4 weeks, 4 Sundays, we were able to stop in. And that's another talk about a melting pot. There were places people from all over the world that were finding prosperity there. And that was really, I loved that part of it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, especially the safety. It's a very, very safe place, very well controlled, and yeah, everybody is welcome, really. And it's a place of opportunities. I mean, it's not my kind of place because I like nature, and how many
Yeah.
times can you go to the desert? It's that also becomes boring after a while. But I definitely agree that it's a good opportunity. What about did things happen while you were traveling? I mean, six people is quite a lot of people. Chances are that something happens. If you're just one or
Yeah.
two, those chances are smaller. Were there any incidents?
There was a few. I think that we are so blessed. We have four boys that are just awesome and well behaved, and I mean, we're just in awe with the experience, and stayed close to us. So I mean, it's not like we had kids running everywhere. We planned it at an age where they were on board, but they're still boys. They're still, kind
Yeah.
of not paying attention. The to me the scariest thing that happened is we were on the streets of Bangkok, and we were going to just a hamburger joint that we had found, and we were so excited, and we were crossing the road, and it was evening, and my 12-year-old, sorry, he just was talking and having fun and just stepped into the road. And we're opposite, in the US, we drive on the right hand side of the
Mhm.
road. And in,
Yeah.
a lot of countries, they drive on the left. And so it was just mixed up. And a scooter, a guy on a little motorcycle just slammed him. And it just happened just out of my grasp. I couldn't reach out and grab him. And luckily, everything was fine. He took a little tumble. The moped stayed upright. He didn't, he wasn't hurt, but he was livid, just screaming at my kid and justified. And we pulled him back, and he was a little scuffed up, but just fine. And I just had that realization of like, man, things can turn in an instant. Like just in a moment, things can go from bad or great to bad.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, when you're traveling, when knowing about local hospitals or doctors or customs in certain places, especially in the Far East or in the Southeast Asia, it's very different, isn't it? I mean, very different to what you're used to. So
Hmm.
one is very lucky if everything goes well. You never
Yeah.
lost anyone? You never lost any of the boys?
Nope. I mean, like I said, they stayed really close to us. No, actually, that part was awesome. The craziest one is when we were in France, I had looked up, our kids are really into sports, so they play American football, they play a sport called lacrosse. And so they love physical, big sports. And when we were in France, I kind of learned, and I had this inkling that there's good people everywhere. And maybe I'm too trusting, but I just believe that. I just think that in general, sometimes our news and social media makes everything to be so scary, and I don't find the world to be a scary place. So when we were in France, I looked up a rugby team based in the heart of Paris. They played on a big pitch that overlooked, the Eiffel Tower is right behind it. It was this incredible, and I asked them if our boys could come and play with their rugby team while we were there for a month. And we got to the place that we were going Tuesdays and Thursdays, and all four boys played on this rugby team. We got to the point where, and my wife was stressing about this, but I'd have them walk there, or I'd have them take the bus to, out to rugby. And yeah, so no, we didn't lose them. They all had, one of them had a cell phone so they could call us if there was trouble, but
So
no,
like little locals.
yeah, we were trying to get that feel at least.
But I so agree with you. I believe that the world is good. I want to believe that most people in the world are good. But you see, good people and good events don't make headlines. And that's why they are selling us and brainwashing us against other places, against different religions, against I'm not buying into that. And I think when you travel, you realize that we all have the same problems. We all want the same thing. We all want to be safe and happy.
We want to take care of our families. We want to have a good relationship with our friends. We want prosperity. But you're right. I had that belief, and it was so confirmed over the 18 different countries and multiple continents. Everyone, not everyone, there's certainly bad actors. I didn't run into any. We really just ran into good people.
Yeah, I think that, it happens. Sometimes people are in a bad mood, or sometimes something has happened to this particular person that you're dealing with. You never know what goes on in people's lives, but generally, I think people are good. Now,
Yeah.
all this fun you had and all these experience and while it was happening, and I can imagine that it happened very quickly. What happened at the end? I mean, we're not done yet, but how did you feel when this was over? Then there must have been a big, big void.
I had an experience that I put in my journal as kind of like the most impactful moment of 2024 was we can get through some of the other stuff, but like our last place we stayed was in Costa Rica, Central American country that's just right on the beach, and we had spent purposely a month of just unwinding and surfing and just hanging out, eating tacos and trying to kind of, it wasn't the speed of Europe. It was just quiet, and it was perfect, a perfect ending. But so the last day we had our car packed up, and I had forgotten my iPhone charger so the whole family's in the car, and I ran back in, and to grab the charger, and I looked around. It's just me. Oh man, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it because it was really impactful. But I kind of landed back in the family room and just had this sense of gratitude, just a, oh my gosh, we set out on an amazing experience, and all the feelings, the gratitude of the experience, the sadness that it was over, the fear of what's the next step of what, how do we top this, or how do we keep going? How does life compare to this amazing experience? And I just had a little moment of all the feelings inside that family room, and got a little teary, but just walked back out to the car and just felt, I think the biggest feeling was just gratitude. So got back to the car, and we drove back to San Jose to jump on a plane and come home. That was a big moment, and we're still figuring it out. I don't have an answer what the next steps look like, but yeah,
Well, that was my question. Will life will never be the same again?
it really won't. Yeah, the world is so big and so small at the same time. I think our vacations will look very different, where we used to just, I don't know, go to California to the beach. I just don't, maybe that happens again, but it's so easy to just jump on a plane and go around the world, wherever you need to get to.
Yeah, because now you know how it's done, and the boys do too. What do the boys talk about this? I mean, it's been a year. No, well, it's not. When did you come back? Which month did you come back to
We
the
got
U.S.?
back in July.
Okay, so it
We
it
got
is
back in
already
July.
more than half a year. Do they talk about it?
Yeah, it was interesting because when we were coming home, the reason we left in August and came home in July, and so we didn't quite make it a full year, but we came home because they really wanted to play. They wanted to get involved in our fall sports. So, and that was okay. Like I really think we accomplished what we were looking for, and they were so excited to get back with friends. But what's been interesting to see is now that they've been home and gotten into the swing of things, they've all individually come back and said things like, that was so awesome, like maybe we could do it again. And I don't know that we're going to do another big year trip like that. I don't know that that's in the cards, but certainly big trips, a month or 2 months at a time, we'll be planning.
And did they started school in autumn when after they came back and
Uh-huh.
everything was fine? There was no
Yeah.
gap or there was no lack. You had done a good job homeschooling.
I don't know if we did a good job. During COVID, we had to, homeschool for a little bit and we were given an online curriculum, so we got a taste of it. I don't know that we did a great job. Our kids, we set it out and they kind of self-managed. Our little guy was in kindergarten and we were stressing about his, did we give him enough time with Play-Doh and doing little kid things and learning how to read? And he might have been a little setback, but man, after 6 months of school, he's doing great. And yeah, I think everyone's great.
Yeah, I think playing rugby and with the view to the Eiffel Tower beats the school curriculum.
I
Now,
think
of
you're
all
right.
the countries that you've been to, and that is a question that I personally don't like, but I'm going to ask you, which one did you like most?
All of us would have a different answer.
Yeah,
Like everyone would have a different answer.
and an
Um,
explanation to it, probably.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's hard. We're Christian and have spent, and we spent a lot of time. I really wanted to expose. It was actually pretty selfish. I just wanted to, while we were in Dubai, we spent a lot of time in some cultural immersions and introductions to Islam when we went to Japan and Thailand. We jumped into immersion into their how people see Buddhism, and I just fell in love with the approach with Thailand's approach to life. It was just very quiet and happy, and it really called to us. So for me, Thailand was just my jam. I didn't love. I mean, Bangkok was fun and crazy, but we spent time up north in Chiang Mai and down south in Phuket, and both of those just had this calming, quiet, easy flow to it. The food was great, and my wife's mother passed away while we were in Thailand, while we were in Phuket, and we made a whirlwind trip. So she passed away, and within 24 hours, we were on a plane coming home, and I spent 2 weeks back home during the funeral and spending time with family, and we came back, and I remember that feeling of coming back almost felt more like coming home than actually being home. So that I don't know, Thailand felt like home to me.
Beautiful. I worked in Thailand many, many years ago. I actually worked in Phuket and I loved living with the Thai people. They just have this, as you say, they have this life view. And also, you spend so much time not understanding each other and you laugh so much about it. I think, I don't know if it's still the same,
Yeah.
but it's just funny.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay, so you asked me, so what's your favorite country? And
I
that's
don't
probably
know.
changed throughout your life.
I don't like the question. I really don't know, but it could be Thailand could be one. I mean, definitely of all the countries, because I was a tour guide for 11 years and I worked in many, many places, but I do have the same feelings for Thailand like you do. But I have to tell you that I spent a lot of time in the US. As a whole country, the United States is very, very beautiful. And I understand people who actually never get a passport because you have it all. You have everything. From the East Coast to I know people should travel and people should see different things, but when it comes to nature or whatever, I did a lot of round trips in the US and I absolutely loved it. And I loved your area. I've been to Bryce Canyon, Zion Canyon, to all the national parks in the West. It's beautiful.
Yeah, back to that point about, just finding quiet and nature, and yeah, that's it. there are some incredible places, and that's true. No matter where you go, you can find it.
I think, and it's the same like we said before about people, that there are good people everywhere you go. But I think if you have this view thinking that there are good people everywhere you go, I think that's when you find those good people. Because if you are suspicious, I remember, for example, when I used to go to places like Egypt or India, and those people who asked me on the flight what they shouldn't eat or what they should be careful of, they were usually the ones who got sick because they already had in their mind, I'm going to get this. I have to be very careful, and I mustn't eat this, and I mustn't eat. And they were so obsessed that they ended up getting something. I think mind has a lot to do with it, and every country is beautiful.
Yeah, I think if you're fearful, you're probably going to find things to be afraid of. And if
Yes,
you're looking for
absolutely.
connection and if you're looking for good food, you'll probably find that too.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on.
What did you think that you should have included, or what would you like? Where would you like to go now that you have already done all the stuff that you've done? What would be if you could just choose right now? You could go and no money would be no object. Where would you go?
We left off Africa. We have not been to any place. So just it's so funny when you start talking to people, they'll say, "Well, I can't believe you didn't go to Cape Town," or "I can't believe you didn't while you were in Europe, you didn't go to Spain." And the reality is, even though we had this, I mean, seemingly unending time, 11 months goes by in a hurry, and you can't see it all. And we were wanting to experience these big chunks of time in certain places, and so there's certainly places in like Spain that I'd really like to get back to. But back to the nature. I think we'd love to see some safari. I'd love to see, the iconic animals of Africa. That'll be on our next one of these trips in the next little bit.
Yeah, the big five. I'm going in February.
Oh my gosh.
But um, I actually admire what you did I because of what I do and because of Instagram, social media, you come across all these country counters. The people who just go for 1 day or 2 days and then they say they've been there, or they even consider stopping over somewhere and staying for 8 hours visiting a country. That's not visiting a country. I think you did the right thing by actually staying a little bit somewhere, and staying in Rome and in Paris for a month must have been worth it. I'm sure you didn't regret that.
Oh, and I mean, that's not at all. And I think moving forward, we have some friends that travel, like you're saying, just an absolute, just go like shotgun approach. And they went to the people I'm thinking about, and there's no knock on them. Everybody travels how you want, but they went to Germany for some of the Christmas markets. And I think I don't think they spent 2 nights in a single hotel over 14 days. And I just can't travel like that. I really like to just get the vibe of places and eat the foods and kind of get to know people at the cafe. I think if we went back to Paris, we would go, and I know back in Rome that we would go back to a gelateria or a bakery in France, that we would know the people there. We would still have that connection, and that's probably as important as sightseeing to me.
Absolutely. And I also think that, I don't know, okay, your mother tongue is English, so we have spoiled all the speaking people by learning their language. But did you get a chance to learn anything? Did your boys get a chance to learn any? They must have when they were playing sports in France.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, they counting to 10, they still do it in French. Like oh man, I'm trying to think of the word. They would know it, but just left and right, they would be yelled at by their peers, be like, "You've got to go left." And so they learned those words pretty quickly. I think all of us came home and wanted to learn French. That was something that we came home and said that was a beautiful language, and we didn't understand how much we loved it. We learned little phrases in every language. I'm lucky, and I spent a couple years in Mexico, so I speak Spanish. And so as the last little bit, we came up through Chile and Peru and Brazil, and then finished in Costa Rica. So those last few months were really fun because I got us around pretty good.
So before we finish, we have to go back because you said now Chile, Peru, Brazil, and Japan, I heard as well. So from Thailand, you went to Japan. When did you go back over on the other side?
Yeah, so we did. We're a big ski family. We love to ski, and so from Thailand we went to Sapporo and skied in Niseko. So
My
we had a
dream.
week. Oh,
They say that it's the most powdery snow in the world, apparently.
I kind of thought we had that title here in the Wasatch Mountains, but Niseko beat that. So we had a wonderful time. We were late season, but still got I don't know, maybe 10 inches of snow while we were there and we had a great time skiing. So after Niseko, we spent about 3 weeks, 4 weeks in Tokyo and Osaka, we got on a plane, the bullet train and went to Hiroshima. So we did Japan, but we missed the cherry blossom. So we got to go back. Then
Actually, there's always a reason to go back to a place.
That's right. That's a good tagline there. There's always a reason. I love that.
Yes.
So, we left Tokyo and spent about 2 full months in Australia, and then that's a whole nother thing we could get into. And then from there we went from Australia to Santiago, Chile, and then kind of
Wow.
wound our way back up through South and Central America, and then came home.
Yeah, we've got a little more time. How was Australia? What did you do there? That must have been quite interesting as well for four boys because it's a
Yeah.
lot to do there.
I mean, it's funny how things work, but we did a lot of research through Reddit or Facebook groups, travel groups. That's really how we got a lot of our information. And someone had made a suggestion of spending time in Cairns, which is in far north Queensland and right on the Great Barrier Reef. And I am so grateful that whoever that anonymous Redditor was that kind of pointed us there because it was a playground for us. The rainforest, the waterfalls, and just the nature there was incredible. I'm sure you've seen these before, but like a wakeboard park where it's a cable that drags you around in a circle. And we bought a month-long membership to this, and so I think we went 30 straight days of going to this wakeboard park and just playing. So that'll have a special. And I think the fact that it spoke English after coming from
Yeah,
so many months of not having that, it was really refreshing for us.
absolutely amazing. So we're coming to the end, Adam, but if somebody's listening to us here and thinks, wow, I'd like to do that too, could people get in touch with you? Would you be able to help if somebody wants to get ideas or wants to know how you planned all this or financed it all?
Yeah.
Would
Yeah,
you?
absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just my Instagram is Eden_Adam, or my
I
my
will put
website
it
is
in the show
Adam.
notes. I will put so people can find it there.
Yeah, please do.
Because I think that if somebody listens to this, if people have the courage to do what you did and show their children that the world at the end of the day is the same everywhere, but just a little different, I think it would become a much better world, don't you think?
Oh, so much. It's worth exploring. It's
Yes,
worth
definitely
it's
worth
worth it.
exploring. So, thank you so much for spending time with me and for doing this fantastic trip. Thank you for being on Most
Anytime.
Memorable Journeys, Adam Stewart. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
If you enjoy my podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. You will find all the information in the show notes.